Hello, you are welcome to Seed Matters, Special Education and Disability Matters. This is a platform where we discuss everything about something and something about everything in special education and disabilities. My name is A.B. Carlo Obo. Today, we'll be discussing hearing impairment. Hearing impairment is sometimes interchangeably used with hearing loss, deafness, and hearing deficit. However, they do not actually mean the same. But before we delve into the concept of hearing impairment, we need to understand the hearing process itself. And there is no way we're going to understand the hearing process without first of all dealing with anatomy and physiology of hearing. When we talk about the anatomy and the physiology of hearing, we are talking about the scientific study of the parts involved in hearing. And of course, the scientific study of the function of these parts involved in hearing. Now we're going to take it one after the other. The anatomy of the hearing process has to do with the scientific study of the parts involved in hearing, the human body parts involved in hearing. Basically, the auditory system is divided into three. The auditory system is divided into three: the outer ear, the middle ear, and the inner ear. The outer ear consists of the pinna, which is the one we can see and touch. It also consists of the auditory canal. That is the one we can also feel when we put our hand in our ear. Sometimes we put our hand and it comes out with brownish substance. The brownish substance is called the earwax or the cerumen. The earwax or the cerumen is secreted by the ceruminous gland, which is in the auditory canal. After the auditory canal, we'll get to the eardrum. So we are still trying to understand the different parts of the human body that consists of the outer ear. We have mentioned the pinna and the external auditory canal. We are not talking about the function yet until we get to the physiology, which has to do with the function. But for now, notice that the outer ear consists of majorly of the pinna and the external auditory canal, which is the passageway. The middle ear itself starts with the eardrum. The eardrum is the beginning of the middle ear. Then the middle ear also has the ossicles or the ossicular chain. These are the three tiniest bones in the body. The first one that is connected to the eardrum is the malleus. The malleus is connected to the eardrum on one end, and on the other end connected to the incus. The incus is the middle bone. These bones are connected end to end. Then the third bone is the stapes, which is connected to the incus at one end and at the other end connected to the oval window. Then still in the middle ear, we have the eustachian tube. The eustachian tube is like a drainage that connects the ear with the mouth, the back of the mouth. When we get to the physiology, you will understand the different functions of this part of the auditory system. So now, in the inner ear, we have the oval window, the round window, the cochlea, the vestibular apparatus, the semicircular canal, and of course, the auditory nerves. These are in the inner ear. These different parts of the auditory system, they play different but important roles in ensuring that the hearing process is completed. How sound flows from the outer ear through the middle ear to the inner ear, where it is transduced into electrical impulses and sent to the brain through the auditory nerves. You see, if we don't understand these different parts of the human body and the different roles they play in ensuring that hearing is achieved, it will be difficult for us to understand what hearing impairment is and the different types of hearing impairment, and possibly how to manage the different types of hearing impairment. That is why we need to understand this. I'm sorry, it's going to sound more academic, but then I will try as much as possible to break it down into manageable sizes where we will be able to understand it. Now, let's talk about the physiology of hearing. The physiology of the hearing system has to do with the scientific study of the function of the different parts involved in the process of hearing. Anatomy is the study of the part itself, the texture of the part, the shape of the part, and the structure of the part. But physiology has to do with the function of the different parts. The part we have mentioned before, the function of those parts. That's the physiology. They go hand in hand. They are like the two sides of a coin. You cannot talk about the parts without talking about the functions. And of course, you cannot talk about the functions without talking about the parts. Starting with the outer ear. The outer ear, like I said the other time, has or starts with the pinna, which is the visible outer flap that is attached to the head. It comes in different sizes and different shapes. This pinna or auricle has structures here that helps it to collect acoustic impulses, acoustic energy from the environment, to collect sound from the environment and channel it into the middle ear through the external auditory canal. So basically, the function of this flap here is to collect sound, acoustic energy in the environment. If you can hear me, that means the sound that is in the environment or coming out from this video hits here and is sent through the external auditory canal to the middle ear. As a matter of fact, people enhance their hearing when they cup their ear this way. That means, by extension, they have enlarged this pinna. This auricle has been enlarged when you do something like this. That is why you see people cupping their ear in order to enhance their hearing. You'll be talking to somebody, the person will say, "You said what?" That is trying to enhance the hearing process. So, apart from that, this also performs cosmetic function like beautification. You see people attaching earrings, different types, in order to enhance their beauty. That is a secondary function. The primary function of this pinna is to collect sound in the environment. That is why in lower animals like the dog, you'll find out that even when the dog is sleeping, any sound in the environment, this will be activated. You'll see it either do like this, trying to get the direction of the sound, more like acting like an antenna. The dog will direct it backward, direct it upward, trying to get the location of the sound. That's the function. For human, we cannot twitch it the way we want, but then that is basically the function. Whatever sound in the environment, it collects it, funnels it into the middle ear through the external auditory canal. That is the function of the pinna. Now let's talk about the function of the external auditory canal. The external auditory canal is like a passageway, basically. A passageway that allows something to pass through it. That is why water can pass, air can pass, sound can pass, and so on. But then it has a gland called the ceruminous gland. This ceruminous gland secretes cerumen. The cerumen is the earwax. The earwax, the brownish oily substance that you bring out from your ear when you put your hand. That is the cerumen. The function of the cerumen is to discourage the entry of insects into our ear and also to limit the amount of water going into the ear. It also helps to reduce dust because it has hair cells, hair follicles. So it is more or less a passageway that performs also a protective function. Whatever that is going into the ear is stopped by the eardrum. So now we are in the middle ear. In the middle ear, we have the eardrum. The eardrum or the tympanic membrane. The eardrum is a conical, membranous, tough tissue that separates the outer ear from the middle ear. It marks the end of the outer ear, and it is also the beginning of the middle ear. Whatever that is coming from the outer ear stops at the eardrum. So it does not just stop, because it's like a door between the outer ear and the middle ear. What happens is this energy coming from outside hits it. When it hits it, it will vibrate it. Take, for example, when the wind is blowing, your window or your door starts vibrating as a result of the wind outside. Okay, now in the middle ear, we have the ossicles or the ossicular chain. Why do we call it ossicular chain? We call it ossicular chain because it is made up of 3 bones. These 3 bones are the malleus, the incus, and the stapes. The malleus is connected to the incus, and the incus is connected to the stapes. This connection is like a chain connection. When you see a chain connected end to each other, that is why it is sometimes called the ossicular chain. These malleus, incus, and stapes are the 3 tiniest bones in the body, in the middle ear. Mind you, this middle ear is air-filled cavity. Air-filled, no fluid. We need to understand that in the middle ear, the first of the ossicles or the first of the ossicular chain is called the malleus. And this malleus is connected directly to the eardrum. At the other end of the malleus is the incus, which is the second bone. This incus is connected to the malleus at one end, and at the other end is connected to the stapes. So this stapes now is the 3rd bone, the 3rd of the ossicles. Number 3 is connected at one end to the incus and at the other end to the oval window. So basically, in this middle ear, we have the eardrum, the ossicles or the ossicular chain, which comprises of malleus, incus, and stapes, and the eustachian tube. What is the function of this eustachian tube? The function of the eustachian tube is to act like a drainage system, to equalize the pressure on the eardrum. For example, because the middle ear is air-filled, the outside world is also air-filled. So there is this constant pressure on the eardrum. So the function of the eustachian tube is to balance the pressure on the eardrum. There is a pressure coming from outside through the external ear. And there is also pressure in the middle ear because the middle ear is air-filled. So now, if the pressure in the middle ear is more than the pressure outside in the environment, the eardrum will kind of be distended. So the eustachian tube will open to lessen the air in the middle ear so that the eardrum becomes okay again. And if the air or the pressure from the outside is more, the eardrum also becomes distended towards the middle ear. So the eustachian tube will also open to bring in more air or suck in more air and make the eardrum to be okay. If the eardrum is not aligned, is not rightly placed, if the eardrum is not in its right position, if it is distended inward or outward as a result of pressure from within or from outside, it will affect the level of hearing. That is why I always tell people, when you want to sneeze, don't close your nose when you want to sneeze. Sneeze out. Because when you close your nose, before you sneeze, you have inhaled. Instead of letting out the air from your nose, you now close your nose and sneeze, forcing the air through other outlets. When you sneeze this way, you feel the air wants to come out through your ear. It is because of the same opening, the eustachian tube that opens into your mouth. Of course, also when you have cold, you will feel that what is happening in your ear and in your mouth are connected. Sometimes when you put eardrop in your ear, you feel it in your mouth. This is to tell you that the ear is connected to the mouth through the eustachian tube. But basically, the function of the eustachian tube is to balance the air pressure on the eardrum. When it is much inside, it will open to reduce it. When it is less inside, it will open to increase it. That is basically the function of the eustachian tube, to balance the air pressure on the eardrum. Because if it is not balanced, your hearing will be affected. So basically, the eustachian tube is like a drainage system, a gutter through which air pressure in the middle ear is equalized to help reduce the pressure on the eardrum. So now, when coming back to the eardrum, the vibration at the eardrum leads to a vibration of the malleus, which is directly connected to the eardrum. Now, the vibration of the malleus leads to a vibration on the incus, which is directly connected to the malleus. Vibration at the incus leads to a vibration in the stapes, which is directly connected to the stapes. Now, the other end of the stapes is connected to the footplate of the oval window. And there will be a piston-like activity, like piston-like effect on the oval window. At the oval window, the mechanical energy is converted into hydraulic energy. When I say hydraulic, it is hydraulic because the inner ear is fluid-filled. Because it is fluid-filled, it changes the mechanical energy into hydraulic. Hydraulic in the sense that once the stapes touches the oval window, it will create a ripple-like effect, sending ripples to the other parts of the vestibular apparatus. In the inner ear, we have the semicircular canal. The semicircular canal is like 3 rings in semicircle containing fluid that are sensitive to gravitational pull, and it helps man to maintain balance in posture and in movement, in motion. You will find it difficult to sit right if the semicircular canal is not functioning. That's why you see some people sitting and they are slanting. You see some people sitting and they are slumping. So the semicircular canal helps us to maintain balance, either in posture, standing or sitting, or in motion, walking or running. That is why some persons with hearing impairment whose semicircular canal has been affected, you see them stagger when they walk. It is not their fault. It is because what is regulating balance in movement is faulty. So basically, the function of the semicircular canal is to regulate balance. It is sensitive to gravitational pull. is to regulate balance in posture or in movement. It doesn't play active or direct role in hearing. But once it is impaired, once it is dysfunctional, it will also affect hearing slightly. But basically, you will notice it in movement of persons affected. Also, in the inner ear, we have the cochlea. The cochlea is a snail-like structure, bone in the inner ear that acts like a transmitter. It contains tiny hair cells like ciliary body. So when this fluid flows through it, these hair cells convert the hydraulic energy into electrical impulses or electrical energy that will be transmitted to the brain through the auditory nerves. The auditory nerve is the passageway that connects the ear to the brain. 8 cranial nerves, they connect the ear to the brain. Whatever that is heard will need to be interpreted in the brain. And in the brain, we have the auditory cortex. The auditory cortex is the part of the brain that interprets what is heard. So, from the beginning, we have analyzed the different parts of the auditory system, starting from the pinna to the external auditory canal, to the eardrum, to the malleus, incus, and stapes, to the oval window, to the vestibular fluid, vestibular apparatus itself, to the vestibular fluid, to the cochlea, and the hair cells, tiny hair cells that convert the hydraulic energy in the vestibular apparatus into electrical impulses or electrical energy. Now, this electrical energy is transported to the brain through the 8 cranial nerves. These 8 cranial nerves take whatever that is heard to the auditory cortex of the brain, where it will be interpreted. Now, in this process, if any part of the auditory system is faulty, it will affect hearing. If any of the processes is interrupted, it will affect hearing. And that is why we have different types of hearing impairment. Now to the main topic of today. The main topic of today is hearing impairment. What is hearing impairment? Hearing impairment encompasses all degrees of hearing loss, from the very mild to the very profound, from hard of hearing to completely deaf. It is an umbrella term that covers all range of hearing loss, all range of hearing disorder, all range of hearing deficits. Please do subscribe, share, and comment to get more of our videos. And watch out for types of hearing impairment or hearing impairment typology, because we have different types of hearing impairment. But before then, my name is Abi Carlo Obo.